Welcome to the fifth video on the series Healing Addiction is Fast and Easy. I'm Dr Cardenas, your host. I want to summarize the first four videos so you understand where we are. In the first video, I told you two things. Number one, that everything, absolutely everything in life begins as a thought. The second thing that you should have learned from the first video is that whatever thought that you repeat becomes your reality. In the second video, I taught you what I call the Cardenas law, and it's an interesting concept, and I want to make sure that you make an effort to memorize that, because the Cardenas law says that your brain only lets you choose the actions that fulfill the thought, and it's very important that you understand that concept. And so if I begin, for example, with the thought, I am an alcoholic, that's the thought, and I repeat the thought, I can predict that the outcome is going to be that I am an alcoholic, but the action to drink or not to drink is going to be dictated by the thought. And since I said I'm an alcoholic, the action that my brain will let me choose will be to drink, and then I will relapse, no matter how much effort I have put into not drinking or trying to stay away from that. But the thought, the original thought, commands your action. And that's the important part that you need to understand, because that is key to solving your problem. In the third video of the lecture is your reality, that says that everything about you, from the tip of your toes to the top of your head, from the shirt that you wear, from the shoes that you have, from the number of times you brush your teeth, to the food choices that you make, to your addictions, to the people that you love and don't love, everything that makes up your reality is the result of your thinking. In the third video, I introduce a very neat concept, which I think it is extremely important. Since your thinking is causing your problem, including your addiction, the solution is stop thinking. Now, because you are going to be needing some thoughts to follow, then we created this force that I call God, that is going to be telling you from now on what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I don't want you to be blocked by the idea of the Christian God, because what happens is that in the past you may have had bad experiences with the Christian God. It is my sincere hope that eventually you will come to know that this loving God, full of grace, is the one that you ought to be praying to. But I'm not going to push it. It's just not important at this point. What I want you to do is that if this is your thinking, you need to get rid of it and begin thinking like God thinks. And so this lecture is one that puts it all together. This is the fifth lecture, and in the fifth lecture, what I want you to, or what we are going to do, is begin a process by which I get rid of my thinking and start thinking like God thinks, and I begin to do it in a way that is going to be miserably simple. I told you from the second step of the creative force that the power of the force comes from the number of times that you repeat the thought. So it is, if I am aware of it now you are aware of it, now you are without excuse, all I have to do is repeat the thought. And I want to give you my case as an example, because it's extremely important that you understand that I used to say I'm fat. So the outcome is that I became fat, but I kept on repeating I'm fat, so that was logical. And if I had to choose, then between food or no food, I would always choose to overeat, because the action is commanded by the thought. So the question is really, does God think I'm fat? And so I began to change. Well, my first step was to go and ask God what He thought. And what happens is that when I came to ask God and I read the Bible, and I found certain principles, for example, like said that I was perfectly and wonderfully made, that there was nothing wrong with me. Indeed, that this body is God's temple. And so I began to change to the thought, I'm so fat, to I've been wonderfully made. It's a different thought. And when I began to say there is nothing wrong with me, I'm wonderfully made, I'm wonderfully made, I'm wonderfully made, an image develops in your head of what wonderfully made means to you. And when you repeat I'm wonderfully made time after time after time, then what happens is that because you're repeating it, your actions are going to change and the outcome is going to change. Now, I want to point out that this process of switching from changing like your thinking to godly thinking, it's a process and it may take some time, but it is your choice whether it happens fast or not. Because the choice, changing your mind or changing your thinking, can be easy or hard. And if you choose hard, then it becomes hard because you simply say it. But if you say changing my thinking is easy, then it becomes easy. Now if I say I have accepted that changing my thinking is easy, now my brain comes to a fork that says changing my thinking is fast or slow. Now I recommend that you choose that changing your thinking is fast and easy, much like the thought that we chose for this program, healing addiction is fast and easy. So the process that you're going to begin is to stop thinking your thoughts that you have accumulated in your brain and begin changing it for godly thoughts. And I want to emphasize a couple of them just because they rub me the wrong way, and I want to make sure that people understand that they are very negative thoughts. The first one that comes to my mind is when I used to say when I was dealing with my son's addiction, I am doing my best. I'm doing my best sounds really sweet, very sacrificial, very like with all your effort. But what we don't realize is that if I repeat I'm doing my best, I'm doing my best, I'm doing my best, the outcome is that I am never going to try anything different. Very destructive thought. It limits me as to what I'm going to do. If you say I am doing my best, it means I cannot change at all. And therefore it becomes a very negative thought. So I begin to replace it. Because now that I recognize that I'm doing my best is a negative thought and that was generated by my brain, I'm going to replace it with one that comes from my God. And my God says in the Bible, with God all things are possible. Now pay attention to that thought, because what happens is that if God says, with God all things are possible, the outcome is going to be that with God all things are possible. All I have to do is repeat it. And when I repeat it, then the actions that I'm now going to choose are going to be only those that fulfill the thought, and therefore my choices are going to change. And if my choices of the actions that I choose change, the outcome is going to change because now everything becomes possible. And now it's opening Pandora's box. Because then you ask the question, pay attention to this. Can I change my son? Can I heal my son? Well, before when I said I was doing my best, the answer was no. But now that I repeat, with God all things are possible, healing my son is one of those things. Being a good father is one of those things. Being able to heal any addiction is one of those things. And so the outcomes are beginning to change just because my brain begins to go in different directions that allow me to see the things that I need to do in order for that thought to become true. Now, I want to close by giving you an example of a thought that I find terribly disgusting, but it is appreciated by many people that have miserable lives. It's called the Serenity Prayer. The serenity prayer goes something like this: God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And it sounds nice and submissive and very meek at the beginning. But if you pay attention to it, you're saying there are certain things I cannot change. And if I repeat that thought, there are certain things I cannot change, then the outcome is that there are going to be certain things I have no control over, and therefore my actions don't have to change. I don't have to do anything because I cannot do anything about it. But if I change the thought, with God all things are possible, it's a direct contradiction to there are certain things I cannot change. With I can do all things through Christ, everything now becomes possible. Can I heal my son? Well, if I accept that with God all things are possible, then the answer will be yes, I can. Can I be the King of England? Yes, I can. Can I grow taller? Yes, I can. Can I develop a third arm? Yes, I can. Now, at this point and in this moment, all of these thoughts are only a simple thought. But if I keep on repeating it, then it's going to become true and possible. By the way, for those that don't believe that I can develop a third arm, the Army is already working in exoskeletons. And if you wanted to find out from a nature show or the PBS, it is a very interesting video. So what I want you to know is that your brain is only going to let you see those things that you choose to think about. And now, all you have to do is begin to get rid of your old thinking and begin to repeat only and exclusively the thoughts that come from God. With God, all things are possible. God is the only one that I please. I don't please humans. With God, I can love all my neighbors. With God, I can be a good father. With God, I can be a good example. With God, I can change the world. With God, I can heal addiction fast and easy. All I have to do is intentionally repeat those thoughts. Thank you.